Today I want to talk about one of the most hotly debated topics in the world of gaming, especially when it comes to Soulslikes. For those unfamiliar, Soulslikes are a genre heavily inspired by From Software's Demon's Souls and Dark Souls. They're known for their challenging combat, intricate world design, often cryptic storytelling, and a strong emphasis on player skill and perseverance. Core elements usually include stamina-based combat, punishing deaths, a unique bonfire or grace system for checkpoints, and interconnected levels that encourage exploration. They're games that demand your attention, your patience, and often your sanity. But the big question that I'm tackling today: should Soulslikes have difficulty options? This isn't just about making games easier or harder. It strikes at the very heart of what many believe defines the Souls-like experience. On one side of the coin, you have the purists, who argue that difficulty options fundamentally undermine the core tenets of the genre. Think about it: trial and error, learning enemy patterns, understanding the subtle cues of the environment, engaging in community discussions to figure out a boss strategy, and the sheer practice and patience required to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. These are all integral parts of the Souls-like journey. When a game is described as tough but fair, it implies a carefully calibrated challenge. A difficulty slider, which typically just buffs enemy health and damage or nerfs player stats, can easily disrupt that delicate balance. It might make a tough but fair encounter feel cheap, or conversely, make a strategically designed fight trivial. The developers meticulously craft these encounters, and simply altering numbers might not deliver the intended experience. So what's the argument for difficulty options? Well, it's pretty straightforward: accessibility. There are countless gamers who are captivated by the lore, the art style, the world building, and the unique mechanics of Soulslikes, but they're simply turned off by the demanding difficulty. Implementing difficulty options could open these incredible experiences up to a much wider audience. Imagine someone who loves the gothic atmosphere of Bloodborne, but finds the combat too overwhelming. A lower difficulty setting could allow them to engage with that world without hitting a wall. But then we swing back to the negatives. Many feel that introducing a difficulty slider cheapens the experience. The sense of accomplishment after finally conquering a boss that's been kicking your teeth in for hours, that feeling of overcoming a truly significant challenge, that's often cited as the true reward of a Souls-like. If you can just dial down the difficulty, does that feeling diminish? Does it take away from the developer's artistic intention? From Software, for instance, has always designed their games with a singular vision of challenge, and some argue that to deviate from that is to fundamentally alter the game's heart. So is there a middle ground? Can Soulslikes be more approachable without resorting to a simple difficulty slider? I believe so, and From Software themselves have shown us the way. They've gotten progressively better at making their games more accessible without compromising their core design philosophy. Take Elden Ring as a prime example. It was a colossal success and brought a huge wave of newcomers into the Souls-like fold. While it famously didn't have a difficulty slider, it offered several in-game solutions. You had the spirit summons. These AI companions provided invaluable assistance in boss fights, allowing players to strategically divide enemy attention. You had the co-op, the ability to summon other players for assistance in challenging areas or boss encounters. It's always been a staple of FromSoft's games for the most part, but Elden Ring made it more seamless and easier to understand than it had ever been before. And then there was just the open world nature of the game. This was probably the most impactful change. If you hit a wall with a particularly tough boss, you weren't forced to grind against it repeatedly. You could simply leave, explore another part of the lands between, level up, find new gear, and return stronger and more prepared. This organic form of difficulty scaling allows players to overcome challenges at their own pace without explicitly changing the game's underlying numbers. Now, this conversation brings up an important distinction. Is there a difference between difficulty options and accessibility settings? Absolutely. Accessibility settings are designed to help players with disabilities or specific needs engage with the game. Things like remappable controls, colorblind modes, text size adjustments, or even options for faster button presses for QuickTime events. These are about removing barriers to play, not fundamentally altering the intended challenge. While a story mode difficulty might feel like an accessibility feature to some, it's a different beast entirely from, say, a feature that helps someone with motor impairments play the game more comfortably. So, are there any games in or around the Souls-like genre that do implement difficulty options well without seemingly compromising their core? I came up with a list of games in and around the genre that have tackled difficulty in interesting ways and managed to do so without sacrificing their core identity. I'm curious to hear if you agree with this list, if you would remove some games, if you would add any games. Let me know in the comments below. First, I want to talk about the Team Ninja games, Nioh, Nioh 2, Wo Long, Rise of the Ronin. So their games are notoriously challenging, but they offer various difficulty cycles that unlock after you beat the game. They're not just number buffs. They introduce new enemy types, new attack patterns, tougher elite enemies, and higher tier loot. This encourages mastery of the deep combat system rather than just brute forcing. The initial playthrough is still a significant challenge. The higher difficulties are for those who crave even more complexity and a true test of their build and skills. The core combat, with its stances, key pulse, and yokai abilities, remain the central focus. They also have robust build crafting, allowing players to significantly optimize their power. Next, I want to talk about Remnant from the Ashes and Remnant 2. These games are often described as Soulslikes with guns, and offer distinct difficulty levels: Survivor, Veteran, Nightmare, Apocalypse. And they offer them right from the start. While these do scale enemy health and damage, the fundamental challenge of dodging, positioning, managing resources, and learning boss patterns remains. The different difficulties cater to different player preferences. Survivor allows players to enjoy the lore, unique world, and co-op without feeling constantly overwhelmed. Apocalypse is a brutal test requiring optimized builds and near-perfect execution. The game's strong co-op focus also inherently provides a dynamic difficulty adjustment. Playing with friends makes it easier, but the game is still designed to be challenging. They also have a adventure mode where you can re-roll specific areas for different bosses and loot, allowing for targeted farming and practice. Next is Hades. While technically a roguelike, Hades shares many core elements with Soulslikes: challenging boss fights, emphasis on learning patterns, death as a learning tool, gradual progression. You get the idea. Its God mode is a brilliant implementation of a difficulty assist. It grants an initial damage reduction of 20% and then increases that damage reduction by 2% with each subsequent death, up to a cap of 80%. God mode doesn't remove the challenge entirely, it softens the blows. It allows players who are struggling to make progress, learn enemy tells, and experience the fantastic story and character interactions without getting stuck indefinitely. It's a progressive assist, meaning the game only gets easier as you continue to fail, reinforcing the idea of learning through death. It's also completely opt-in, so if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. The next games I wanted to bring up are the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. These games blend a Souls-like combat system, parrying, dodging, stamina-like mechanics, with more traditional action-adventure elements. They offer several difficulty settings: Story Mode, Jedi Knight, Jedi Master, Grandmaster, and these adjust enemy aggression, parry windows, and damage numbers. The core combat mechanics are still there and demand player skill. Even on easier difficulties, you can't just button mash your way through. You still need to understand enemy attacks and utilize your force abilities effectively. The lower difficulties simply provide more leeway for error, allowing the players to enjoy the strong narrative and exploration aspects of the game without the frustration of constant deaths if they're not accustomed to the demanding combat style. The next game on the list is Steel Rising. This Souls-like features a highly customizable assist mode with multiple sliders. Players can adjust things like damage received, stamina regeneration, and even enable no fall damage or preserve anima, the game's equivalent of souls. That way you don't lose them when you die. This granular control allows players to tailor the difficulty precisely to their needs and preferences. If someone struggles with managing stamina but loves the combat, they can simply adjust that one slider without trivializing everything else. It respects the player's agency and acknowledges that different players struggle with different aspects of the game. And the last game I want to bring up in this list is Another Crab's Treasure. This indie Souls-like, praised for its charming visuals and environmental message, includes an assist mode with a unique and humorous option: giving the player a gun. This is in addition to the other typical assist options. The gun is a powerful tool that significantly reduces the challenge, but it's an active choice by the player. It's an in-game item that changes the gameplay loop, rather than just a number tweak. It maintains the core Souls-like elements of exploration and boss design, but gives players a clear and often comedic way to overcome obstacles if they're stuck. The common thread among these implementations is that they offer up meaningful ways to modify the challenge that either layer on top of the core mechanics, like Nioh's multiple playthrough difficulties that add new enemy behaviors, provide in-game tools or mechanics like Elden Ring's Spirit Summons or Hades' God Mode that scales with failure, or they offer granular customization like Steel Rising sliders that let players target specific pain points. I think the key here is often about how difficulty is implemented. Is it just a simple number tweak, or does it offer meaningful changes to the gameplay loop or provide clever in-game tools that empower the player without making the core mechanics irrelevant? Ultimately, the debate around difficulty options in Soulslikes is complex, with valid points on all sides. On one hand, maintaining the developer's original vision and the inherent challenge is crucial for many fans. On the other, making these incredible games more accessible could introduce them to a whole new generation of players. From Software has shown that there's a nuanced path forward, one that offers player agency and varied approaches to challenges without sacrificing the genre's integrity. But what do you think? Should Soulslikes have difficulty options, or does it go against the very spirit of the genre? What are some other creative ways developers could make their games more approachable without a traditional difficulty slider? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really looking forward to reading your perspectives on this one. If you enjoyed this discussion, please be sure to like this video, subscribe for more gaming content, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on the next upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.